Good morning. It even works. They are so good. Welcome to Grand River Unitarian Congregation. We gather with gratitude this morning on the Haudenosaunee Confederacy Treaty land. A treaty is an inheritance, a responsibility, and a relationship. May we be good neighbors to one another, good stewards to our planet, and good ancestors to all our children. My name is Kate Urquhart. I took membership with GRU during the lockdown stage of this ongoing pandemic. That membership, too, is a responsibility and a relationship. Living alone and left mostly to my own devices, I value the example setting and the support of this congregation as I try to be a better neighbor, steward, and ancestor. Welcome to this morning, this day, this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being humans together. We're not here because we've figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. There are many opportunities beyond our Sunday services to connect. In the coming weeks, there are gatherings to talk about books, write holiday cards, sing with a choir, and meditate. You can learn about these in the weekly email newsletter, or visit our website or Facebook groups to learn more. And now I am looking for an announcement about the dream auction results.
Hello, thank you so much to everybody who participated in the dream auction, even if you just showed up to the event and didn't buy anything. I just really appreciate everybody getting involved in it, even though it's been a really awkward couple of years. So this year we made, $10,876. Oh, please fill out the survey whether you participated or not. I would really, really appreciate it. It's on the newsletter that was just sent out, and it's on the Facebook group as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I almost tripped myself on the little step stool thing here. Got a microphone, I've got a step stool, it's all coming together, I'm good. We wouldn't want to spend $10,000 on putting a cast on me. I should let you know that our services are live streamed and recorded, online. And the cameras are aimed to show just the chancel and the musicians. However, you may be seen when walking in the front of the sanctuary. And now we set aside the busyness of our everyday lives and consent to rest this morning in the warmth and fellowship and the promise of community. Sophia Lyon-Vaz wrote, "We gather in reverence before the wonder of life, the wonder of this moment, the wonder of being together, so close yet so apart, each hidden in our own secret chamber, each listening, each trying to speak, yet none fully understanding, none fully understood. We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, nor ears can detect, that hands can never touch, that space cannot hold, and time cannot measure." And now I turn it over to Rev Jess to announce our opening hymn.
Thank you, Kate. The words of our opening hymn are by the 13th century Sufi mystic Rumi, set to music by UU minister Lynn Unger. But the editors of our hymnal, for reasons we cannot yet discern, left out a very important last line. If you turn to number 188 in the gray hymnals, 188, The song invites, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Our song leaders today are going to lead us in this in a round, singing those lines a number of times. But at the very end, as we wrap up the song, we are all going to join in on the missing final line. And that line is, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. So we'll have the song leaders start us out. Oh, you can't find that note anywhere on the planet, but thank you so much for trying. I'm honored that you tried. Thursday is the Buddhist holiday commemorating the day that the Buddha is said to have attained enlightenment. Thursday is Bodhi Day. For many years, every year, I attended Buddhist retreats of various sorts at conference centers and monasteries, mostly in New York State. And so it was, about a decade ago, that I started the new year at a week-long silent meditation retreat studying with Lama Surya Das. Surya Das is a Tibetan-trained Lama, author of a number of books translating Dharma into a Western context. Our daily schedule from 5:30 in the morning until 9:30 every night included 5 hours of teaching, including guided meditations, 3 hours of group meditation or chant, and another 3 hours of personal practice opportunities. The retreat was held at Garrison Institute, a former Catholic seminary that housed monastics. The crosses and stained glass icons of Christianity abound amidst the incense and golden Buddhas. Grottos and enclaves that once supported statuary of the Virgin Mary Jesus, Peter, and Paul have given way to wall hangings, tankas of bodhisattvas, Buddhist saints. Tara, Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, Padmasambhava. Pictures of the Pope are replaced with smiling, orange-robed lamas and tulkus. And where no doubt a crucifix once hung in the chancel, now sits a golden statue of the Buddha, the Prince Siddhartha, on his lotus throne. The sounds of those silent retreats still visit me in my sleep. The hush, the chants, the sound in the dining hall of 50 spoons sipping soup, the Lama's sudden incursion into a peaceful and quiet meditation by yelling, "Fat!" to startle us back into the moment, asking us all to yell together, "Fat!" Fat! Can you learn to surprise yourself? He challenged. And the exaltation of the exhalation. At every morning session, we were invited to take a deep breath and hold it in. Hold it until your head nearly spins, and then to loudly exhale on ah as you release the breath, the tension, intention, attention. So go ahead and try it now. Breathe deeply. Hold it in. In. Hard to talk and hold my breath at the same time. And now we're going to release it on ah. Because of this signature exercise, Lama Surya Das refers to himself as the Wizard of Oz. Because of the wonderful things he does. And what was behind the curtain but a parable built in silence and in snow. So come, let us contemplate together. Let this flame be to us a symbol of the wholeness we seek. Its glow reminding us of the sacred bonds which link us to all people. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. Children of all ages are invited forward with our play care leader, Julia Sen.
Look at this great group we have today. Hello, everybody. So today we're going to be reading a story called I Can Do Hard Things, Mindful Affirmations for Kids. All right. Has anyone here ever had to do something hard? Yeah, me too. I do hard things every day. All right. I don't always feel brave, confident, or strong. Sometimes it seems easier to follow others along. I get so many messages about how I should be, pulled in different directions. I feel wobbly. When this happens, I listen for that quiet voice inside. When I pay attention, that voice is my guide. I connect with the love and strength it brings. It helps me remember I can do hard things. I can be a friend to myself. I can feel all my feelings. I can ask for help. I can try again rather than give up. I can believe in myself. Oh no. I can speak up when it would be easier to stay quiet. I can say no, even to my friends. I can apologize. I can forgive. I can listen to understand different points of view. I can care for my community. Cleaning up some litter is awesome. I can choose kindness. I can practice peace. I can share my gifts with the world. I can be myself. Hard things can be about what we think, what we feel, what we say, what we do. What's hard for you, what's hard for me may not be hard for you. You are you and I am me. We walk through the world differently. Trusting my voice helps me find my way. I grow braver and stronger every day. The tough stuff I face is all my own, but I can also remember that I'm not alone. I'm ready for the hard things I have to do. And please remember, so are you. The end.
I'm going to get all teary because, like, that was a proper bridge for the first time in such a long time. We're back. Our reading today is by Alison Luderman. Jesus incognito. Don't tell anyone, but even as a good Jewish girl, I love Jesus. I love his dark Semitic eyes and how his friends are all the poor and the prostitutes and how he will even go to hell for love. He's just like that Buddhist bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokiteshvara, except his name is easier to pronounce. It's hard to yell for Avalokiteshvara when you're in big trouble, but oh, Jesus comes naturally. I don't want to die saying, oh, shit. I want to die like a lama, lie on my right side and turn my head in the direction of my next birth. I know I would have to meditate a lot to do this well, but let's face it, there aren't enough years left in my life to get that enlightened. And following Jesus seems so much easier. All you have to do is love everyone. Well, seems is the critical word here. Sometimes it seems impossible with all the people around you, but then if you really look, you realize, what else is there to do? The offertory in support of this congregation will now be taken. Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you to our musical guest, Ken Headley. Thank you so much for being here today, Ken. We set aside time on our Sundays together to witness to one another's joys and sorrows, the trials and triumphs of our daily lives, brought here for shared celebration or sorrow. If you would like, you can light a candle in silence, or if there's something you'd like to share, you may come to the microphone and let us know how we might accompany you on your journey today. I'll ask that we light the first candle for those struggling in this season with loss and loneliness. This can be a particularly hard time.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I lit a candle for, my company had layoffs this week, like many other companies in our local tech sector, and so lighting a candle for my 11 former teammates who were let go this week.
I'm lighting a candle for my stepson who turned the big 3-0 this week.
Ask for a candle for my stepdaughter who arrived last week safely back from England.
While I am struggling with some health concerns that I trust will pass, I am very grateful that my brother, who's been undergoing cancer treatment for over 2 years during these difficult times, is thriving. And my sister, who's been struggling with bipolar for years, is also thriving as she goes through withdrawal slowly of all the cocktail of meds she's been on, and she's finding herself again at 60-some years old. Oh.
I've lit a candle for the environment and for the environmental warriors who are working to protect what we're blessed with and what needs protecting.
A shout out to our beloved Esau McGregor in her memory. We'll light a final candle for all those joys and sorrows here unspoken, but precious in our hearts. Our pastoral hymn today is number 391, and Ken and Stephen are going to play it through once before we sing. Our meditation is by John Pavlovitz. You should be a little weary right now. If you are, be grateful. That is a good thing. That weariness is confirmation that your heart is working properly. It is your humanity responding to so much inhumanity around you. It is evidence of your goodness still fighting to feel useful. Your heavy fatigue is the internal alarm of an empathy that will not allow you to proceed unaffected while so many grieve here, while war rages half a world away, while the planet burns, while there is so much brokenness in the place you call home. To not feel any of that would be the red flag. To not be brought to tears now and again would be a far more worrisome condition. To not occasionally be leveled by the sheer volume of the burdens in your orbit would be a symptom of a far greater sickness within you. It would mean that, like far too many people around you, someone else's pain is no longer of consequence to you. It would mean that you had learned how to anesthetize yourself from the suffering in your path, that you no longer felt emotionally tethered to other human beings. You being perfectly fine right now would be a dire diagnosis. And that would be a far greater tragedy than all of the sources of our sadness, because it would mean that these days have claimed yet another compassionate human being and allowed apathy to supplant the space where empathy should reside. It would be proof of one more person joining the ranks of the willfully oblivious. Listen, friend, I know that giving a damn is the more perilous path, which is why so many refuse to take it anymore. It is the treacherous journey that will keep you up at night, the one that will furrow your brow and bring you to tears and frequently break your heart. But there is no other worthwhile way to live. You are better because of your weariness, more human as a result of your soul's fatigue. The challenge is not to be so completely overtaken by it that you lose the ability to care, that you finally reach the threshold of what you can safely bear, that you fall and cannot get to your feet again to enter the fray. Your expiring early is not the object here. Becoming a martyr of your own heart isn't the goal. You being here a long time and caring a great deal is. So I want you to take care of yourself. Withdraw into the places of stillness and silence that give you rest. Nurture your mind and your body with good things, with music and art and food that give you joy. Shield yourself with prayer or meditation or exercise. Surround yourself with people who too care deeply, so that you are reminded you are not alone. Hydrate and sleep, and be selfish about maintaining something of a balance between the burdens of the world and your ability to carry them. But don't expect you will not still be tired much of the time, that your heart rate will not sometimes rise so loud that you hear it in your head, that you will not temporarily be brought to tears and to your knees. You may be tempted to envy those who don't seem to care because of how easy it seems for them, but resist that. In days like these, when so many are in such pain, and when so many people have chosen not to be changed by that fact, your heaviness is understandable. It's actually quite beautiful. We should be weary right now. I'm glad that we still are. A decade ago, after a busy year of change and shift, I craved stillness, and at the dawn of a new year, arrived for a silent retreat with Lama Surya, that Wizard of Oz. For over a week, we were to observe a noble silence, silence of body, speech, and mind. Yes, there were teachings, there was chanting, and there were question and answer sessions, but otherwise we kept silent in the residence halls, the dining room, the yards. But that wasn't all. The invitation in a silent retreat is to leave all your social masks down. That is not just verbal, but gestures as well. No interaction, not to acknowledge one another's presence. We were to abandon those quiet courtesies of acknowledging with a smile or a bow or even eye contact. Hello, goodbye, thank you, excuse me. That part was hard for me. People dealt with the silence differently, and some not at all. Some resorted to chronic whispering and note passing. I only had trouble remembering to keep silence around one attendee, a service dog named Hamish. He was there with one of the newcomers, and I desperately wanted to talk to the dog. Oh, doggy Sattva, I wanted to whisper in his furry, perky ear. Doggy Sattva, bark of no bark, tail of wag and woe, sit, lie, stay, pet, and pray. But besides the doggy distraction, in the silence, especially at meals, I wondered to myself, what would we be talking about if we could? And I realized, to my vast disappointment in myself, that I mostly had room for funny and petty complaints. I would probably be riffing at length about the diet of white vegetables, fennel, cabbage, and onions for 7 days, and the hopelessly misguided dish called pan quiche with kale, which I redubbed congealed kale suspended in egg swamp casserole. But these thoughts would not improve upon the silence. I wrote instead, reflecting on the noise and clips and bits that floated through my head as though I were channel surfing, recognizing bits and pieces of the stories of my life, some sad, some happy, some tragic and heartrending. The invitation to simply watch these float by on the stream of my mind felt reassuring, like somehow I was purging years of trauma and turmoil. It was like on a computer screen when you send a bunch of files all at once to the recycling bin and you watch the scroll on the screen take this and then another, the graphic paper floating from enter to the trash bin logo over and over again, no longer cluttering the active desktop of memory. And only in the steely, silent stillness are insights forged and affirmed. So I guarded my silence carefully. The silence was my refuge. The silence is my treasure. That silence is my jewel. I avoided retreatants who treated it casually. So one afternoon, I balked when I encountered at the meditation hall doors one of those persistent whisperers, a person who at every question period delivered a resume of his aptness and prowess at meditation and knowledge of all things Buddhist. At the sight of me, he quickly moved to open the door for me, but then abruptly blocked my way, bowing deeply. I'm confused. My mind races. Why? Panic rises as I wonder what protocol I've broken. The man continues bowing, And he looks up and in a loud whisper said, "I am so glad to meet you. It's so great to know that you're a Dharma teacher." I'm baffled at his misinformation, no idea how he'd come to this assumption, but unwilling to break my silent vow, I simply bowed in response, leaving him to decipher whether it meant thank you, namaste, or dude, where the heck did you get that information? The encounter flusters me. I step inside the silent hall and take my ritual walk around the perimeter. The final altar on the circuit is a simple side table with candles, paper, and pens where we can leave our offerings in written form to one another. Quotes and hopes, poems and fears, joys and sorrows. Several times each day, I stop and read each note and send a prayer of healing. The prayers read like lifelines cast into the sea of community. They are clues to our assembly. For peace in the world, for a child's well-being and understanding, for the health of aging parents, for the healing of our planet, for a spouse whom I am leaving, for friends far away, and most telling of all, a series of long, angry prayers for people who I hope for their own benefit finally get it and wise up to their delusions. And in that silent stillness, these insights are forged and affirmed. How comfort is a ritual and a right, not a luxury. Whatever your pain, if it's you, it's 100%. How true friendship deepens, sometimes only after a conflict, when you've trusted one another enough to both heal and hurt. How a broken heart expands in the mending. How trivial most of our worries are measured against the dramas of the world. How the balancing act of life works toward love and goodness. How at 20, one writes passionate, angst-filled poetry about love and longing. And at 50, one writes passionate apologies to the body and belongingness we once took for granted. How this too shall pass. Inside the hall, we begin to chant, Om Tare Tu Ye Soha. The syllables don't mean anything. They are a reminder of Tara, the female bodhisattva of compassion and healing. The chant is a statement of intent, a song of attention meant to affirm our will for healing, not just for ourselves, but for all beings and the planet. The chant begins slowly. The Lama leads us, and our voices become an imperfect but undeniable one. Minutes on end, we chant until it seems our voices form words from one another's lips. Harmonies arise and fall here and there when, from the back of the hall, a single pure soprano, one perfect voice, takes up a counter melody, and her descant reverberates through the dome. It floats, trills, and resonates in oral ecstasy. We are surrounded by sound. We are elevated, promoted to angel choir, and the words melt into one another until even my feeble soprano and the neighbor's brassy off-key monotone transforms into a textured drone in this mountain of sound, and we are climbing, climbing, climbing to a summit of comfort, of community, of oneness. And the Lama increases the speed and the intensity of the chant. He begins tapping the beat, not just on the drum or the wooden block, but pounds everything in his reach as a percussion instrument, hitting balls and bells and a water glass which tips over and showers the front row of sitters, and we start clapping and dancing, and lo, above it all, another voice then tips the scale into the sublime. This time it's Hamish, the dog. The dog starts barking and baying at our noise, happily joining our two-footed chorus, keeping time. This doggy sattva, his Zen master's bronzy gong and growl reminds us, bow, wow. Bow, wow. Bow now. According to Webster's dictionary, the word healing means to make sound. And so we do. I was there, and now I'm not. Enlightenment is a fragile blossom. It is the lotus rooted in mud facing the sun. My Buddha buzz ended with a bang and not a whimper. Soon after the closing refuge ceremony, I dashed into the snow to my car, hoping to beat most of the worsening weather. Once on the thruway, I stopped at the first service center to have dinner and a coffee. I sat with a sandwich in front of a television, blaring the devastating news from the USA, another tragic shooting rampage. This time, 6 dead, 14 injured. This time, next time, all the time. The Buddha bubble burst and I drove home. I was there, and now I'm not. Earlier that same day, I had walked through the yard of the retreat center, contemplating the deep insights and peace I had cultivated during the week, wondering what commitments I might make to maintain, sustain the pervading sense of wellness and awe I was then steeped in. I stood at the entry of the courtyard labyrinth. The snow was deep. I lifted my knees high, sinking through the disappearing white ground, giving way with every fresh step. The labyrinth path, marked with small thorny bushes, meant I could simply say the mantra over and over again. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. The path was both longer than I thought, and in the meandering mirage that is a labyrinth, the path was just as suddenly, startlingly over. I was there, and now I'm not. Across the yard, I noticed several stands of bamboo, and I couldn't resist marching over to investigate them. As a child growing up in Central America, I used to take refuge in a stand of bamboo in the jungle behind my home. In the wind, they make a sound, a clank and a creak, an unearthly shuddering and rustling. It is one of the hallmark sense memories of my childhood, so strong that as a young adult, set adrift by hard circumstances in life, I often took refuge for the night on a sailboat, cradled by the creaks and groans of the rigging, sounding a bamboo lullaby as I fell asleep. On that day, though, in New York, there was no wind, no creaking, no sound at all, the world hushed by the elegant muffling of snow, as though all the earth had taken our vow of silence. I reached out and touched the bamboo tentatively at first, wandering through the tiny forest, picking my steps carefully through the thick branches, some dead, some living, some straight and thick yellow wooded bark, but most twisted, thin, green, persistent. The bamboo was tall, seemed as tall as the huge retreat building itself, and packed closely together so that I could not see the sky above. Familiar and so unfamiliar, bamboo with snow on it. I'd never seen such a thing in the tropical world of my past. I yearned for its familiar sound, that recapturing of such an important nostalgia of my childhood. I was there, and now I'm not. I found myself praying for wind on this still day. And because I could not resist and could not accept that it too was silent, I at last reached out to touch it and give a branch one good shaking. And to my utter and naive surprise, a burst of snowfall flurried down from the tall stalk, the snow hitting the thickly packed leaves of one stem and the neighboring stems, and instead of a creaking, I was touched by a hushing rush of a miniature blizzard. I made it snow. It thrilled me. And next, I touched a branch that was snow-logged, its tips buried in the snowy ground, bent all the way over. I grabbed that branch and shook it. Again, to my amazement, the huge stalk reared up its head, knocking the snow off of its neighbors, and all of them in succession, raised from the ground, showered me with snow, and stood straight again amidst its kin. I spent a long, long time in the yard, thus liberating the bamboo. You are free, I thought to myself. We are free. How easily the snow which ladens it can be dislodged. How easily it gathers, how easily it lets go. How gracefully the bamboo bends with its heavy baggage, but just as readily releases with ease to stand again, ready for the next storm. I walked to the Hudson River, whispering farewells, promising to return in the spring. From the rocks at the river, I looked back at the building to find the window of my room, my home for the week, and I'm surprised to see below a grotto beneath the stairs, set in the hill under the building's grand front entrance. I smiled to recognize a gleaming white Buddha statue set in the archway where no doubt the Virgin Mary had reigned before, and I headed toward it. Closer, I could see the statue glisten. Marble, I thought. It was lovely, with the sun glinting off its surface. Closer still, and I could make out the folds of the Buddha's robe across one shoulder, could see his headpiece. Closer still, and I could see the texture of the statue's surface. Concrete, I wondered. Now, upon the statue close up, I began to laugh. Mine was no stone Buddha. There, set in Mary's empty grotto, was a lovingly molded snowman in the unmistakable shape of a seated Buddha, a snow Buddha. Here today, its face and hand gestures melting in the sun, it would be gone by day's end, a melting study in impermanence. It was there, and now it's not. Hours later, I sat, stunned to silence again by broadcast news, more tragedy, more anguish, more weariness, more of the same and the same and the same. In my blissful bamboo reverie of the brief morning, I recalled the bad news that this too shall pass. And in the wake of another tragedy that night, I recalled the good news that this too shall pass. No wonder we are weary. Let's not forget to rest. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe deep, 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 and hold it. And we release. To these parables built in silence, set in snow, I add one more by poet Billy Collins. His poem, Shoveling Snow with Buddha. In the usual iconography of the temple or the local walk, you would never see the Buddha doing such a thing, tossing the dry snow over a mountain of his bare round shoulder, his hair tied in a knot, a model of concentration. Sitting is more his speed, if that is the word for what he does or does not do. Even the season is wrong for him. In all the Buddha's manifestations, is it not warm or slightly humid? Is this not implied by his serene expression, that smile so wide it wraps itself around the waist of the universe? But here we are, working our way down the driveway, one shovelful at a time. We toss the light powder into the clear air. We feel the cold mist on our faces, and with every heave, we disappear and become lost to each other in these sudden clouds of our own making, these fountain bursts of snow. This is so much better than a sermon in church, I say out loud. But Buddha keeps on shoveling. This is the one true religion, the religion of snow and sunlight and winter geese barking in the sky, I say. But he is too busy to hear me. He has thrown himself into shoveling snow as if it were the purpose of existence, as if the sign of a perfect life were a clear driveway you could back the car down easily and drive off into the vanities of the world with a broken heater fan and a song on the radio. All morning long, we work side by side, me with my commentary and he inside his generous pocket of silence, until the hour is nearly noon and the snow is piled high all around us, and then I hear him speak. After this, he asks, can we go inside and play cards? Certainly, I reply, and I will heat some milk and bring cups of hot chocolate to the table while you shuffle the deck and our boots stand dripping by the door. Ah, says the Buddha, lifting his eyes and leaning for a moment on his shovel before he drives the thin blade again deep into the glittering white snow. Blessed be. Will you please rise for our closing hymn, Meditation on Breathing? This is the perfect Unitarian hymn because there are 3 parts, and you can choose to sing any part or parts that you desire. You'll catch on as you listen to our song leaders. Lou Welch says, seeking perfect total enlightenment is like looking for a flashlight when all you need the flashlight for is to find your flashlight. Let the people say,